Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final math lesson of the year. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So, for today's lesson, what you need is your math notebook. You can use a piece of paper or a whiteboard if you'd like, and a pencil, of course. Okay? So today we will review classifying two-dimensional shapes. So we've been working on classifying quadrilaterals and classifying triangles and that kind of thing. We're going to look a little bit more at some quadrilaterals for this next activity. So you're going to turn, it looks something like this. You're going to turn to the very last page in your math notebook, the very last one. And it says cut out each rectangle. I think that's too much work right now. We don't need to do that. All you need to do is you're going to look at each of these boxes. Okay, you're going to look at each of these boxes, and it has a statement in those boxes. You're going to decide, is it A, always true, S, sometimes true, or N, never true. Okay, so you need to decide how often these things are true. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to go ahead, not a second, I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and fill this out. So right now, I'd like for you to lightly use pencil, because I want you obviously to copy it down bolded and strong pencil lead when we go over the answers. So go ahead and pause the video and look over each of these statements. It's going to take you a few minutes to do so, but there's no homework for this lesson, so lucky you. So this is the main work you're going to do. So pause the video, go through and decide, is that statement always true, sometimes true, or is it never true? And something you're going to use to help you is the definitions that we've gone over about these quadrilaterals. Okay, so the definition of a square, the definition of a rectangle, think of those things when you fill that out. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video so that way we can go over these answers. Okay, so you've now worked on it. You've come up with your ideas of if these statements are never true, always true, sometimes true, that kind of thing. So let's go over it. A quadrilateral has less than 4 vertices. Well, if I'm thinking of a quadrilateral, a vertice are these things right here, these corners where those line segments meet. Okay, so a quadrilateral by definition has 4 sides, 4 angles, so this is never going to be true. They're never going to have less than those 4 vertices. Okay, a square has one pair of obtuse angles. Remember, obtuse meaning very big, bigger than that 90 degrees. A square by definition has 4 90-degree angles, so this is never going to be true. A trapezoid is a rectangle. Well, this is never going to be true. Okay, never going to be true. A rhombus has 3 equal sides and 1 unequal side. A rhombus by definition has 4 equal sides, so this is never going to be true. I know a lot of you are thinking, is this the never column? But it's not. A rectangle has 1 obtuse angle. Well, a rectangle has 4 right angles, so this is never going to be true. A parallelogram is a rectangle. This one is sometimes true. Sometimes true. Parallelograms, yes, normally we might think of something that looks like that, but a parallelogram can also look like this, where all the sides are parallel to another side. Okay, so let's go to the next column. A square has 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. Well, that right there is the definition of a square. That is always true. A square has 4 right angles. Again, part of that definition of a square, it's always going to be true. A square is a rectangle. Well, let's see. Does a square meet the definition of a rectangle? A rectangle has 4 90-degree angles. two sets of equal sides, at least two sets of equal sides, or I'm sorry, all sides are equal to another, and 4 90-degree angles. Is that true of a square? Yes. So a square is always going to be a rectangle. Is a rectangle, let's go to this one real quick. Is a rectangle always going to be a square? No. Sometimes it will. Sometimes a rectangle will be a square, but not always. A rectangle could be this size, where it's actually a square, but that meets the definition of a rectangle, so that can sometimes be true. A trapezoid has no parallel sides. This is never going to be true. A trapezoid, by definition, has one pair of parallel sides. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. This is always true. Always true, because a rhombus, by definition, has 4 equal sides. A quadrilateral has 4 acute angles. This is never true, guys. If I add all the angles up, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever quadrilateral it is, they should all add up to 360 degrees. So I can't have acute angles less than 90, because if I add 90 plus 90 plus 90, 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, I get 360. Well, if I had 4 acute angles, meaning less than 90, that would be less than the 360. So that would not work, ever. A trapezoid has 1 pair of equal sides. This is sometimes true. Sometimes true. Sometimes we get this beautiful trapezoid where this side is equal to that side. But other times, we might have a trapezoid that looks like this. We don't have any equal sides here. These are still parallel, so it's still a trapezoid. So again, sometimes true. A quadrilateral has 2 obtuse angles and 2 acute angles. Well, this is sometimes true. Think about a parallelogram. Here I have an obtuse angle here, and here I have an acute angle here. This works for this shape here, but not for a rectangle, right? A rectangle has no obtuse angles and no acute angles, only right angles. Okay, we've done that one, so we'll skip that one. Let's go here. A parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Yes, that is always true. That is the definition of a parallelogram. A square has 4 equal sides. This is, again, always true. Part of the definition of a square is that it has 4 equal sides. A rectangle has 4 equal sides. This is sometimes true, and this goes back to what we were talking about here. A rectangle has 4 equal sides sometimes, because sometimes a rectangle is a square. All right, so hopefully you went through and you were able to check. If you need to, you can go back in the video and look it over. Okay, let's do some more practice. This is where you're going to use that piece of paper if you'd like, whiteboard, or you can just point if you want on your computer, your iPad, your Xbox, whatever it is, you can just point. So let's look. I want to move this out of the way. Determine which category each polygon belongs to. Select all boxes that apply. Ooh, select all. Ooh, fancy. The fancy all boxes. Shapes may belong to more than one category. If the polygon is not a square, parallelogram, or quadrilateral, select none of these. Okay, so let's go through. Here we have a trapezoid. Is a trapezoid considered a square, a parallelogram, a quadrilateral, or none of these? Go ahead and make your selection. You can point or you can say it out loud, but that way we know that we have a definite answer. Okay, a trapezoid is considered a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides, so it's a quadrilateral. Okay, let's look at this one. A hexagon. A hexagon. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides in a hexagon. Is a hexagon a square, a parallelogram, a quadrilateral, or none of these? A hexagon is none of these. It is not a four-sided shape. Not all of its sides are parallel to another, and it is not a four-sided shape that has 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So it's not a square either. Okay, let's look at a rhombus. Is a rhombus considered a square, a parallelogram, a quadrilateral, or none of these? Well, a rhombus is considered a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. This side length is parallel to this side length. This side length is parallel to this side length. So it has those two pairs or sets of parallel lines. So it's a parallelogram. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So it's also a quadrilateral. Let's look here. A regular polygon is a polygon with all sides the same length and all angles the same size. Okay, so decide if each shape is always, sometimes, or never a regular polygon. Click in the table to respond. Okay, so again, you can point, you can say it out loud, you can write it down, up to you. Okay, so if you haven't paused the video, you can go ahead and do so now. Okay, let's go ahead and see how we did. So we're going to determine if an acute triangle is always a regular polygon, sometimes a regular polygon, or never a regular polygon. Well, let's see. So a regular polygon has all the same side lengths and all the angles are the same. So congruent sides, congruent angles. Okay, so an acute triangle, that's a triangle who has all of its angles are less than 90 degrees. Well, this is sometimes a regular polygon. An obtuse triangle has one angle that's greater than 90 degrees. So this is never going to be a regular polygon. A right triangle has one angle that is 90 degrees. Well, if you remember, triangles' angles add up to 180 degrees. So there's no way you could have another right angle in that triangle. So that is never a regular polygon. A rectangle has 4 right angles, so those are congruent, but all the same side lengths. Well, what's the only time that a rectangle is considered a regular polygon? It's when it's a square, otherwise it's not. So that is sometimes a regular polygon. A square, by definition, has all 90-degree angles, so they're all the same, and all the side lengths are the same as well. So a square is always a regular polygon. Okay, so what do you need to do when you're thinking about these sometimes, always, and never questions in regards to these shapes? Well, you have to think about different examples. You need to think, okay, so a rectangle. Well, this is the definition of a rectangle. Is this the only way a rectangle could look by that definition? Parallelogram, trapezoid, quadrilateral, that's a shape with 4 sides. It could look in many different ways, right? So you need to think about those things when you're looking at the sometimes, always, and never questions. All right, guys, give yourself a pat on the back. That is our last lesson. Great job.